Before my grandmother passed away, she arranged a marriage for me. Others said he was pure and gentle, the ideal husband in the eyes of countless women in the capital. But I never knew he already had someone in his heart. On our wedding night, he petitioned the emperor to lead troops and left the capital. I spent 3 years alone in our empty chamber, tending to my gravely ill aunt. After waiting and waiting for his return, he came back with a frail, beautiful young woman by his side. That day, his voice was cold and distant. Our betrothal was always a transaction. Yun has already shared my bed. Out of respect for your 3 years of service to my mother, you shall remain the primary wife. But I shall also take Yun as my concubine. He disregarded his mother's protests and my becoming the capital's laughingstock, insisting on bringing his beloved into the household. His mother, enraged, suffered a fatal stroke. Yet he blamed me for appearing and causing his beloved to become a concubine, claiming I had caused his mother to die in resentment. Unexpectedly, when the enemy army pressed at the gates, he single-handedly escorted me out of the city. On his deathbed, he said, "You cared for my mother for 3 years. Today, I repay that debt. Though fate denied us union in this life, we shall meet again in the next." When I returned, he knelt on the ground, his body riddled with arrows, shielding Shinqingyun beneath him. They died together. I smiled bitterly, plucked an arrow from his body, and plunged it into my own heart. This life's bond, this life's end. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day my mother arranged my marriage. Gazing at Xiao Ziqian below the pavilion, I shook my head. The love I could never have before, I don't want it in this life either. Grandmother glanced at Xiao Ziqian outside the window, then looked at me with surprise. "Yun, Xiao Ziqian is the son of the Duke of the State. He is gentle and upright. Why would you refuse such a fine young man?" Grandmother was right. He was indeed upright and gentle. But all those virtues were given to Shinqingyun. For Shinqingyun's sake, he left the capital on imperial orders to wage war on our wedding night. For over 1,000 days and nights, I kept his bed empty. I served my mother-in-law with the devotion my own mother showed, yet in the end, I received not a shred of Xiao Ziqian's pity. Even when my mother-in-law tearfully confessed her guilt toward me, I could only offer a bitter smile. As a wife, I owed it to be dutiful. I believed persistence would wear him down. Even if he never truly cherished me, our journey together was long. It was precisely this hope that kept me waiting. I waited and waited, only to see him bring home a frail, beautiful young bride. His gaze softened as he looked at her, treating her like a precious treasure. That look, one I'd never seen before, yet had once hoped for, was not for me. I lowered my gaze. The faint aroma of tea wafted through the tea house. My fingers gripped the rim of the celadon cup as my voice remained calm. Though Prince Xiao may be fine, he cannot compare to the third son of the Wei family. Grandmother, I wish to marry Wei Yan. Grandmother gave a soft cough and nodded regretfully. Very well. Since Yun has no desire to marry into the Xiao family, let it be as you wish. You know my health won't last much longer. Seeing you find a good home before I pass would bring me peace. Though the third young master of the Wei family has a stubborn nature and lacks the steadiness of Prince Xiao, he has grown up alongside you since childhood. You know him well, and he won't treat you poorly. Indeed, he won't treat you poorly. In my past life, when the enemy army pressed at the border and I took my own life before Xiao Ziqian, it was Wei Yan who collected my body. When he returned with his troops and saw my corpse, he was overcome with grief and anger. That day, a heavy snow fell. Clad in full armor, he carried my body away and buried me with his own hands. Perhaps it was my unwillingness to let go, or perhaps because I was closest to him, my spirit has lingered by his side ever since. That day, trembling, he placed the hairpin from his bosom before my tombstone. His voice choked with emotion. "Zhao Yun, if there is a next life, will you look at me?" The clatter of hooves interrupted my thoughts. The youth atop the horse flicked his whip with a flourish and rode off. The horse kicked up billowing dust, yet it couldn't obscure his grace. His expression, neither quite a smile nor quite a frown, was strikingly captivating. Gazing at his retreating figure, I let the corners of my mouth turn up slightly. This time, I want a life filled with brightness and everything going my way. To fulfill others, and to fulfill myself. Soon, my grandmother arranged a marriage for me. Upon hearing the news, the Wei household sent their betrothal gifts that very day. The servants stared at the gifts, their jaws dropping. Even I hadn't imagined the Wei family would place such importance on this union. Every son of the Wei family was exceptional. The eldest, Wei Xiao, served as tutor to the imperial princes. The second, Wei Xian, was a direct disciple of the Medicine King Valley, renowned throughout the land for his medical skill. The youngest son, my betrothed Wei Yan, accompanied General Wei on a campaign at the age of 10, capturing 12 enemy cities in just over 3 months. My aunt is the Empress, the Emperor's most favored consort. For decades after his ascension, she remained his sole consort. In other words, the Wei family was the envy of all in the capital city. The young ladies of the capital once said, Southern Shao, Northern Wei, meaning every young man from these two families was a sought-after match. However, the second son of the Wei family had already married, and though the youngest, Wei Yan, remained unwed, rumors swirled that he favored men. Precisely because of this, despite the Wei family's noble status, no one was willing to marry Wei Yan. Over time, Xiao Ziqian became the ideal husband in the eyes of noble young ladies. Though gentle and steadier than Wei Yan, no one could ever draw close to him. When I married him in my past life, those women gossiped about me, yet in the end, pity took their place. Miss, young General Wei has arrived. Snapping back to reality, I watched the youth approach. He curved his lips as he came before me. Without a word, he patted my shoulder. Zhao Yun, didn't you once say you'd marry a fool before marrying me? Could it be you've changed your mind now that you see how handsome this young master is? He stood before me, grinning cheekily, yet my eyes welled up. Such a bright young man, who remained unmarried after my death, eventually passing away in sorrow. Seeing my teary eyes, his smile vanished abruptly, his expression turning awkward. Hey, why are you crying? I was just teasing you. Why can't you take a joke? I just returned yesterday and heard Mother speak of our marriage. What I said that day was just to scare you. If you don't want to, I'll tell Mother. Don't cry. He fumbled awkwardly, trying to comfort me but unsure how, just standing there dumbly explaining. A few days prior, he deliberately declared before me that he would marry me, binding me to the manor forever, never to leave. Back then, I hadn't reincarnated yet. His words had upset me for a long time, but soon after, he left for battle. Our next meeting was now, as the reborn Zhao Yun. No need. I'm the one who wants to marry you. His panicked hand froze midair as he stared at me, wide-eyed with shock. You said. You asked for this yourself? I nodded, drawing closer to him. Then. Are you willing to marry me? The words barely left my lips before Wei Yan's typically defiant ears flushed crimson. He cleared his throat. Well, this young master isn't exactly at a disadvantage. After Wei Yan left, I sat in the courtyard feeding the birds, convinced this lifetime would hold no further connection between Xiao Ziqian and me. Yet, unexpectedly, we met again. I hear you're to marry Wei Yan. His demeanor remained as cool and distant as ever, his voice crisp and clear, like mountain spring water flowing through a ravine. I looked up at him. His gaze was deep and steady, as if awaiting my answer. Yes. Upon hearing my words, Xiao Ziqian's Adam's apple bobbed sharply. His tone brimmed with disapproval. The Wei clan wields immense power. The emperor most fears those whose achievements overshadow his own. Zhao Yun, you should not marry him. I tugged at the corner of my mouth. If I shouldn't marry Wei Yan, then whom should I marry? Him? Thank you for your advice, Prince Xiao. But since I am not acquainted with you, please refrain from visiting. Others might misunderstand my presence. My words seemed to displease him. He turned away, his expression darkening. Unacquainted? You blame me for neglecting you in my past life, don't you? I looked up abruptly. So he had reincarnated too. I smiled, stepping closer to him. He retreated. So you know you neglected me. But why did you come today? To thank me for caring for your mother these 3 years? Or to make amends for the insults and scorn I endured in my past life? Or perhaps you've developed feelings for me? Regretting your choice now? Hearing my words, he snorted and turned away. Zhao Yun, don't be shameless. I came today only out of respect for our past marital bond. My heart belongs solely to Yuner. This time, I will marry no one but her. I turned back, forcing a mocking smile. If that's the case, then the crown prince may leave. I wasted no more words on him. Since he, like me, had been reborn, he should walk his own path henceforth. This time, he ought to fulfill the wish he held in his previous life. Xiao Ziqian was momentarily speechless, a fleeting, ambiguous expression crossing his face. Yun, I know my actions in our past life were wrong. But even so, I cannot watch you walk into a pit of fire. You will regret marrying Wei Yan. I didn't know if marrying Wei Yan would bring regret, but I knew marrying him now did. Sighing softly, I turned back and curved my lips. So then, will you marry me? His face paled momentarily. His lips moved, but in the end, no words came out. Seeing this, I smiled and turned to leave. Yun. I turned back. His gaze was heavy as he stared at me, lips pressed tightly together. I can take you as a concubine. I smiled, my voice growing colder. Xiao Ziqian, I will not be a concubine. In the end, we parted on bad terms, and my wedding was set for the 8th day of the 10th month. I stayed indoors during this time, waiting for the marriage. Until the day before my wedding, my cousin came looking for me, saying the jewelry pavilion had released many new designs and inviting me to go see them. Thinking I hadn't been out in days, I agreed. Little did I know that the very people I wanted to avoid were the ones I kept running into. Inside the jewelry pavilion, Xiao Ziqian was helping Shen Qingyun select jewelry. When he saw me, he froze. Then, almost instinctively, he shielded Shen Qingyun behind him, as if I might harm her. I tugged at the corner of my mouth and walked past him, following my cousin to another section. He seemed to have forgotten that even in my past life, when his heart belonged solely to Shen Qingyun and he made me the laughingstock of the capital, I never once sought to trouble Shen Qingyun. Though I have a fiery temper, I'm not capable of such unreasonable actions. Setting aside that I was the one who took his chance with Shen Qingyun, even if she had come after me, I still wouldn't have gone after him. Matters of the heart require mutual consent. Had he been steadfast enough, he wouldn't have fallen into another's embrace. Qian, what's wrong? Do you know this young lady? Shen Qingyun's voice was soft as he looked me over. Xiao Ziqian cleared his throat lightly, a smile playing on his lips. An old friend. You choose first, Yuner. I'll go speak with her for a moment. Shen Qingyun glanced at me and nodded obediently. I couldn't help but chuckle. Such an obedient beauty, no wonder Xiao Ziqian treasured her like a precious jewel. Yun, I know you blame me and resent me, but what I said that day still stands. Though I cannot give you love, I can at least ensure you live without worry for the rest of your life. A life without worry, that was indeed the case in my past life. He may not have cherished me, but he did entrust me with the household management of the Marquis's residence. Love, however, was never given. Yet my status was not low. Why should I need his charity for a life free of worry? Prince Xiao, if you intend to marry Miss Shen, you ought to be faithful. Should she overhear this, she might think it's me, Zhao Yun, clinging to you. He lowered his gaze, his voice slightly hoarse. She won't. Yuner has always been sensible. She wouldn't think that. I smiled, wrapped up the hairpin I'd chosen, and turned to leave. Just as I took a step, I bumped into Wei Yan by the street. Clearly, he had seen me too. Watching him walk toward me, I curved my lips. The next moment, he grabbed my wrist. Little crybaby, so you're here. Found something you like? Show this young master. His words halted. He glanced sideways at Xiao Ziqian behind me, his voice turning slightly colder. Prince Xiao is here too. Oh, right. I heard Prince Xiao is also about to marry. Could it be you came here to pick out jewelry for your fiancé? Hearing this, I froze for a moment. So he had already arranged his marriage, yet still wanted to entangle me and take me as his concubine. How laughable. Yan, grandmother said she wants to see you. Come back with me. Wei Yan stared at me in shock. I pinched him hard. He seemed taken aback by my use of a yen. Gritting his teeth against the pain, he grabbed my hand, intent on leaving. Behind us, Xiao Ziqian, seemingly possessed, yanked at me too. In the tug-of-war, my sachets fell to the ground. My eyes grew colder as I picked them up. Prince Xiao, control yourself. The next moment, I dragged the furious Wei Yan away, leaving Xiao Ziqian standing there dumbfounded. Back at the mansion, Wei Yan stared at me. Could it be you still harbor feelings for Xiao Ziqian? His tone carried displeasure, but I merely smiled and sniffed at his clothes. Seeing this, he froze for a moment before sniffing himself. What is it? I replied, such a strong scent of jealousy. Wei Yan, are you jealous? He denied it at first, then flushed. His expression struck me as oddly endearing. Taking his hand, I declared firmly, that was just childish foolishness. Wei Yan, I stopped liking him long ago. Our wedding day shook the entire capital city. Firecrackers crackled, a 10-mile procession of red adornments stretched out. Dressed in my wedding gown, I stood outside the door, lifting my veil to watch Wei Yan riding a white horse toward me from afar. He looked utterly dashing in his groom's attire. Amidst the festive chaos, citizens exchanged celebratory greetings, waiting for wedding candies and silver coins. The wedding maid helped me to the bridal sedan chair when a dart suddenly pinned itself to its side. I instinctively dodged as Xiao Ziqian, eyes reddened, charged forward on horseback. Zhao Yun, you cannot marry. The crowd murmured at the commotion. Wei Yan, still on horseback, swiftly reached my side and pulled me behind him. His usual playful demeanor was gone, replaced by a sharp, icy edge. Xiao Ziqian, are you seeking death? Everyone said the two masters, Xiao of the south and Wei of the north, were peerless fighters. Even if they battled for 3 days and nights, no victor would emerge. Yet today, they were about to fight over a woman. Xiao Ziqian ignored Wei Yan, his eyes red as he stared at me. 3 years ago, on that cliff. Was it you who saved me? The cliff? I lowered my gaze. 3 years ago, while searching for medicine for my grandmother, I encountered the gravely wounded Xiao Ziqian. Then, blinded, he clung to a rock on the cliff's edge with the last ounce of strength in his hands. Driven by the urgency to save him, I pulled him up. Hearing footsteps and his men approaching, I placed him in safety and left. I never imagined my sachet would be left behind, nor that it would become someone else's. Only 5 years after marrying him in my past life did I understand why he was so devoted to Shinqingyun. But none of it mattered anymore. He loved the owner of the sachet, mistaking her for Shinqingyun. Yet the love I sought was not for an inanimate object. Even if he had once cherished me, I never felt joy. Seeing my silence, he stepped closer, his voice laced with desperate pleading. Zhao Yun, say something. This scene clearly provoked Wei Yan. Without a word, he raised his fist and punched Xiao Ziqian, his brow furrowed, his tone thick with menace. Xiao Ziqian, if you know what's good for you, get out now. Otherwise, even if you're the son of the Duke of the State, I won't let you live to see tomorrow. I exhaled a long breath, pulling the furious Wei Yan back as I looked at Xiao Ziqian, his face purple and bruised. It's me. Xiao Ziqian, what we shared was nothing but a karmic entanglement. The person and the things you once clung to have now been fulfilled according to your wishes. In this life, the best outcome for both of us is for you to marry me and for us to part ways without interference. We owe each other nothing from past lives. Let me go now, and free yourself too. He slowly closed his tear-filled eyes. When he opened them again, his voice held unwavering resolve. I won't let you go. Zhao Yun, if only I'd known sooner, if we hadn't missed each other for so long, could you give me one chance? I promise you, this lifetime I'll marry only you. You'll never be a concubine. Is that all right? Mother. She adores you. She's still waiting for you. If not for my sake, then for hers, can you forgive me just this once? I turned my head away, refusing to look at him. Zhao's mother had indeed treated me well, but that was merely because she felt indebted to me. This life holds no debts, and thus, no outcome. No. Xiao Ziqian, this lifetime I only wish to love Wei Yan wholeheartedly. But you will die. His voice cracked with a growl, all traces of his former gentleness vanished. He was like a madman now. I seized Wei Yan's hand, my gaze sincere. You've tasted that feeling of clinging to life and death together. Xiao Ziqian, let go of yourself. and let go of me. In the end, Xiao Ziqian left. And I married Wei Yan as I wished. On our wedding day, he was shy, all traces of his former arrogance gone. Even in the bridal chamber, I was the one who taught him. I still remember that night, his voice hoarse as he kissed my brow, my eyes, my lips, whispering those moving words of love that left me utterly captivated. As for Xiao Ziqian, I never asked again. I only knew he never married Shen Qingyun. Young madam, the general has planted more peach blossoms for you. Soon the entire courtyard will be filled with their fragrance. I gave a faint smile. Wei Yan treated me well, yielding to my every wish. Fearing I wouldn't adjust to the general's mansion, he bought a small courtyard for me. Though compact with just an entrance and exit, it felt cozy and comforting. Low stone walls were covered in moss, and several peach trees stood in the courtyard, with a swing set strung between them for my amusement. We would often sit on that swing set, chatting about all sorts of curious things. To keep me from getting bored, he often took me to the market. Each time, he'd buy me something delightful. Candied hawthorn on sticks, osmanthus pastries, 9-linked rings, cloth tigers, kites. When we had free time, we'd fly kites or play with jump ropes together. Whenever Wei Yan couldn't beat me at skipping rope, he'd insist on another try. After many attempts, he grew accustomed to losing to me. But I knew he was deliberately letting me win. When I asked why, he'd say, "You are my wife. It's only right to yield to my wife." Gazing into his eyes, my heart couldn't help but feel a pang of bitterness. Such a man, in my past life, I never saw his worth. My heart was wholly devoted to Xiao Ziqian, blind to all other men. I still remember the day before my wedding, when he stood at my estate gate. A light drizzle fell that day. Water droplets slid silently down his cheeks. I couldn't tell if they were rain or tears. He said, "Zhao Yun, there are so many fine young men in the world. Why choose someone as cold as Xiao Ziqian? You'll suffer greatly with him." Back then, I didn't heed his words. Only later did I understand, he wanted me to see others, to see him. But it was all too late. Now, however, I've chosen the right man. Though bitter in my past life, now it is sweet. Both lives combined, bitter first, sweet later, is quite good. Yuner. I turned to see Wei Yan, his face pale, approaching me. A bad feeling washed over me. He knelt down, taking my hand. "Grandmother. She passed away." My mind went blank. I fought back tears as I stood up. "Husband, let us return together. Grandmother lived a splendid life." As the most cherished youngest daughter of the Prime Minister's household, suitors who adored her filled the capital city. Yet she chose to love my grandfather, a lowly 7th-rank official. Others said he must have burned incense in a previous life to deserve her. After marriage, they were deeply devoted. To earn his in-laws' respect, grandfather worked tirelessly, climbing step by step to his current position. People predicted he'd abandon grandmother once he gained wealth and status, but he proved them all wrong. Until his dying breath, she remained his only love. Grandmother always taught that a woman shouldn't merely learn the 3 obediences and 4 virtues, she must hold her own dignity. Don't let others' words about husband as heaven cloud your mind. Because of this, mother never suffered the slightest injustice by her side, nor did she treat me with any hint of son preference. If you want to cry, then cry. Wei Yan knelt beside me, gazing at the coffin before us. I shook my head. There was nothing to cry about. Grandmother had passed away peacefully in her old age. He had gone to find grandfather, making this a joyful funeral. In my past life, her wish had been for me to marry a good man. But she never knew I had married the wrong one. But now, I kowtowed 3 times, my voice soft. "Grandmother, Ayun is doing very well now. My husband cherishes me deeply. Please rest assured." That night, Wei Yan and I kept vigil. Several times I urged him to rest, but he refused each time, saying, "Ayun's grandmother is my grandmother too. It's only right to fulfill my filial duty." And so it was, until after all arrangements for grandmother were completed, that we finally returned to our small courtyard. Unexpectedly, the emperor issued an edict summoning Wei Yan to lead the troops into battle. I learned this news just as I discovered I was pregnant. That night, I prepared his armor, repeating my pleas for his safety over and over. I instructed him on everything, except my pregnancy. For I knew that if I told him, he would worry about me and lose focus. Hearing my words, Wei Yan drew me into his embrace, his voice tinged with laughter. All right, your words are law to me, my dear. To cheer me up, he recounted how his elder brother had once boasted in front of him that he wasn't afraid of his elder sister-in-law. Yet today, he saw that same brother kneeling before his sister-in-law, begging for reconciliation. He gestured as he spoke, bursting into laughter. His antics made me laugh, yet my heart ached deeply. I simply nestled silently in his embrace, listening to his amusing tales. When I awoke again, Wei Yan had already departed. On the desk lay a wooden hairpin he had carved for me himself, beside a letter, "May my wife find it pleasing. Until I return." After Wei Yan departed, I returned to the Wei household. The Wei family treated me with utmost kindness, never asking me to do any chores. When they learned of my pregnancy, both sisters-in-law showered me with affection, sending countless items for the baby to my courtyard. Yet, like him, we never informed Wei Yan at the frontier of my pregnancy. And so, day after day passed. The last time I saw Xiao Ziqian was at the Empress's birthday banquet. His eyes held sorrow as he stared at me. Upon hearing he remained unmarried, His Majesty arranged a marriage for him. I kept my eyes lowered, fixed on the wine cup before me, avoiding his gaze. The woman he was to marry was the eldest granddaughter of the Chancellor, Sun Wanwan. I had seen her, a fair-featured, delicate beauty. She was more than a suitable match for him. Until he received the imperial decree, I never once looked his way. Only after leaving the palace did he catch up to me, his voice slightly hoarse. "Ayun, may I speak with you?" I didn't want to acknowledge him, but his voice carried a plea. "I'm begging you." The faint aroma of tea wafted through the tea house. Xiao Ziqian poured a cup and pushed it toward me, but I didn't take it. He gave a bitter smile and poured himself another cup. "Ayun, if only I had realized it was you sooner, might our relationship have been harmonious?" My gaze drifted to the drizzling rain outside the window, and I found myself lost in thought. Had I recognized him sooner, perhaps our story would have unfolded differently. But there are no ifs. I still remember the day I married into the Xiao family. He pushed open the door to the bridal chamber, his voice cold and clear. "Miss Zhao, to insist on this marriage, you truly have some nerve. But I fear I must disappoint you. This lifetime, I shall never harbor the slightest affection for you. If you sign this divorce decree willingly, I shall ensure you live out your days without want." But back then, grandmother was still with us. I refused to sign. He stormed out in fury, staying away all night. Only the next day did I learn he'd gone to the palace. He'd petitioned for an imperial decree to lead troops into battle, all to avoid seeing me. Yet Zhao's mother lay gravely ill. Though maids tended to her, they inevitably slacked off at times. I thought that since I'd married him, I should do what was expected of me. Someday, he would see my worth. What if he changed his mind? For that one possibility, I waited over 1,000 days and nights. But in the end, what I received was news of him taking a concubine. Ah Yun. Only when his voice sounded again did I jolt back to reality. Perhaps. A flicker of joy crossed his face, but it was cut short by my next words. But life doesn't operate on maybes. Your affection for me, for Shen Qingyun, stems solely from that pouch, not from who I am. Xiao Ziqian, you've never understood me, nor have you ever understood Shen Qingyun. You don't know what you truly desire, nor do you comprehend love. So even if you lived another lifetime, you'd still never taste its essence. He froze, his gaze locking onto mine. No. I do love you. I chuckled softly, tracing the rim of the blue and white porcelain teacup. He continued, I know I wronged you in my past life, but my feelings for you are genuine. I refuse to watch you die for the Wei family. Yun, even if you're angry or resentful, I'll accept it. But please, give me one last chance. I don't mind if you married Wei Yan. If you're willing, I'll do whatever it takes to secure your divorce from him and annul my marriage to Sun Wanwan. I lifted my gaze, studying him intently. Before, I'd thought him simply inarticulate. Now I realized it wasn't that. He simply chose his words carefully. Xiao Ziqian, setting aside the matter of being my benefactor, between me and Shen Qingyun, who do you truly care for more? He paused, unable to answer immediately. Because he didn't know either. See? Even you can't tell who holds your heart more. How can you be certain you truly desire me? Between us, I was the one who wronged you before. Had I known you had someone you cherished, I would never have married you. But now I am married. Even if you hadn't wed Shen Qingyun, you still had a betrothal. A woman's reputation matters greatly. If you don't love her, you can refuse. If you accept, then treat her well. That is the responsibility a man should bear. Xiao Ziqian did not marry Sun Wanwan. He knelt outside the imperial study for 3 days and nights. This news spread throughout the capital. Everyone said it was because of me. After that, Sun Wanwan sought me out. Her eyes red, she pointed at me, hands on her hips. It's all your fault. If not for you, how could he have rejected me? I'm so wonderful, how could she refuse me? The young girl couldn't hide her temper. As she spoke, she burst into tears, sniffling and sobbing, looking almost endearing. By then, I was 3 months pregnant, my belly slightly rounded. Seeing my silence, she grew furious. Why aren't you saying anything? I'm not bad-looking either. Why is he so cold to me? He never even gave me a chance. I lowered my gaze. In my past life, I thought the same. I wasn't lacking either. My status, looks, and talents, everything surpassed Shen Qingyun's. Why didn't he like me? I even blamed myself, wondering if I wasn't good enough. But later, I finally understood. It wasn't that I was inadequate. To someone who feels nothing for you, no matter how outstanding you are, they simply don't care. The only time he saved me was because I looked after his mother. Without that, he wouldn't have died for me. I stepped forward and took Sun Wanwan's hand. Her eyes widened in surprise. Remember this, don't doubt yourself. You are wonderful. He simply doesn't deserve you. Whatever you lose wasn't meant for you. Don't feel regret. Sometimes it's a blessing in disguise. Like me, if I hadn't married him back then, I might not have spent my life filled with regret. Besides, you're so beautiful and of noble birth. I imagine countless men in the capital will fall at your feet. Why limit yourself to just one? Her cheeks flushed. She lifted her gaze, touched her cheek, and her voice caught slightly. Is what you said true? I nodded. The young girl seemed to brighten slightly, then turned and ran out of the general's residence. But after a few steps, she came running back with her maid. At the gate of the general's residence, she waved at me. You're right. With all my good qualities, why should I hang myself on one tree? Thank you, Sister Ayun. I smiled gently, watching her depart. Just as I returned to my bedroom, Wei Yan delivered a message. Staring at the envelope, I felt an inexplicable sense of unease. In my past life, Qin Kingdom had invaded 3 years later, but now it seemed to be happening sooner. Recalling everything from my previous existence, I abruptly stood up. This time, I would never let the events of my past life repeat themselves. But I forgot, Xiao Ziqian had also been reborn. When I secretly slipped to the frontier, Xiao Ziqian was discussing defense plans with Wei Yan. Only then did it dawn on me, he had lived through this before. Spotting me, Wei Yan rushed over joyfully, pulling me into his arms without a word. Yet in an instant, he abruptly released me, his expression turning displeased. Yun, the frontier is so perilous. How could you come here? Who accompanied you? Knowing concealment was futile, I recounted how I had come alone. Wei Yan's expression darkened, and even Xiao Ziqian behind him looked troubled. Yun, don't be so reckless next time. My dear, please don't do this again. A moment of silence fell. I cleared my throat softly and nodded. Wei Yan smiled, pulling me into his embrace. He kissed me again and again, held me close time and time. I smiled as I patted his chest. Behind us, Xiao Ziqian's face paled slightly. He lowered his eyes and turned to leave. But just as he reached the doorway, Wei Yan suddenly spoke. My dear, why has your belly grown so full? I playfully pushed him away. I'm pregnant. Xiao Ziqian froze outside the door. Wei Yan laughed upon hearing this, spotting Xiao Ziqian at the doorway. He deliberately called out loudly, I'm going to be a father. I smiled. It really was. Oddly adorable. This lifetime did not repeat the ending of my previous one. By the time Wei Yan returned to the capital, half a year had passed. And I was 8 months pregnant. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law, learning I had accompanied him to the frontier, scolded me in a mix of worry and anger. I only smiled without reply. I knew their concern wasn't about harming the child in my womb, but genuine worry for me. The men of the Wei family had always respected their wives, and the notion of taking concubines had never existed. In their eyes, a man would have only one wife in his lifetime. This was precisely why the Wei family had sent wild geese and lynxes as betrothal gifts. Both symbolized loyalty and fidelity. And both were precious creatures, difficult to hunt. They were telling me, and telling everyone, that a Wei man would have only one wife in his life. When I returned, Xiao Ziqian hadn't come back with me. Wei Yan said he'd stayed at the frontier. I nodded, unconcerned. But on the day I went into labor, the entire Wei household was thrown into disarray. They even summoned Wei Erlang, who rarely returned home, to stand guard outside my door, fearing the slightest mishap. After all, childbirth was a first for me in both this life and the last. The pain was truly unbearable. Wei Yan heard my cries and called out to me repeatedly outside the door. Finally, he rushed straight into the room to watch over me. The midwife tried to warn him it wasn't good, but he paid no heed, his eyes red as he clutched my hand. Seeing his tear-filled eyes, I faintly glimpsed the him from my past life. Back then, he had sat before my tombstone just like this. Red-eyed, alone for a very, very long time, utterly lonely. Don't cry. I'm fine. He shook his head. Gone was the heroic bearing of the battlefield, instead, he resembled an abandoned child, choking back sobs until he could barely speak. An hour later, the child was born, and I passed out. When I awoke again, it was late at night. Wei Yan stood guard before me, staring intently. I smiled, looking at him. But his gaze had changed, and my heart couldn't help but tremble. Yan Yan? What's wrong? He said nothing, only gently tracing my brow and eyes, stroking them over and over. Through his gaze, I knew he seemed to have remembered something. Thinking of something, I spoke it aloud. Have you remembered something? He gave a soft chuckle, lowering his eyes to touch my fingers. Yes. I'm both happy and sad. Happy because you've finally become my wife, and we'll grow old together. Sad because in our past life, you endured so much injustice, yet I couldn't help you at all. My heart ached for you, but I dared not draw near. I feared you'd be mocked and gossiped about, and I could only watch you bear it all. Yun, thank you. Thank you for choosing me this time. My eyes stung involuntarily. I should be thanking him, yet here he was expressing gratitude to me. He rose slowly, wiping the tears from my face. Don't cry. The faint candlelight cast shadows across his handsome features. The days for tears lie ahead. For a moment, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Still as sharp-tongued as ever, Wei Yan handed me the child, a baby girl. He asked me to name her. Staring at the infant, I smiled. Sweet dreams come in the night, surely from the southern branch. Then let her be called Wei Nanji. When Nanji was 1 month old, Xiao Ziqian sent numerous gifts from the frontier, all for her. Each gift came with a letter. No year without spring. Year after year, time after time, it was always this phrase. When Wei Yan first saw it, he felt a twinge of jealousy. But over time, he let go of his resentment. He declared with immense pride, I trust my wife's judgment. A woman like her would never look at someone as cold as him. Many years passed in the blink of an eye. On the day of Nanji's coming-of-age ceremony, I pinned the hairpin in her hair. Xiao Ziqian also sent a coming-of-age gift. He never remarried, and I never saw him again. After Nanji's coming-of-age ceremony, Wei Yan and I returned to our old courtyard. He had it well maintained, the scent of peach blossoms greeted us the moment we entered. A gentle breeze blew as Wei Yan and I sat on the swing, chatting about this and that. He held my hand, his voice no longer possessing the clear, spring-like quality of his youth. His voice was now deep and resonant, stirring my heart even more profoundly. Zhao Yun. In the next life, let's continue to be entangled together. I leaned against his shoulder as a gentle breeze brushed my cheek. I smiled and replied, not just the next life. For all eternity. The end.